This article is a subset article of intelligence cycle security. Counterintelligence refers to information gathered and activities conducted to protect against espionage, other intelligence activities, sabotage, or assassinations conducted for or on behalf of foreign powers, organizations or persons, or international terrorist activities, but not including personnel, physical, document or communications security programs. History. Modern tactics of espionage and dedicated government intelligence agencies were developed over the course of the late 19th century. A key background to this development was the Great Game, a period denoting the strategic rivalry and conflict that existed between the British Empire and the Russian Empire throughout Central Asia. To counter Russian ambitions in the region and the potential threat it posed to the British position in India, a system of surveillance, intelligence and counterintelligence was built up in the Indian civil service. The existence of this shadowy conflict was popularized in Rudyard Kipling's famous spy book Kim, where he portrayed the Great Game as an espionage and intelligence conflict that never ceases, day or night. The establishment of dedicated intelligence and counterintelligence organizations was directly linked to the colonial rivalries between the major European powers and the accelerating development of military technology. As espionage became more widely used, it became imperative to expand the role of existing police and internal security forces into a role of detecting and countering foreign spies. The Austro-Hungarian Evidence Bureau was entrusted with the role from the late 19th century to counter the actions of the pan-Slavist movement, operating out of Serbia. As mentioned above, after the fallout from the Dreyfus affair in France, responsibility for military counter-espionage was passed in 1899 to the Sûreté Générale, an agency originally responsible for order enforcement and public safety, and overseen by the Ministry of the Interior. The Ochrana was initially formed in 1880 to combat political terrorism and left-wing revolutionary activity throughout the Russian Empire, but was also tasked with countering enemy espionage. Its main concern was the activities of revolutionaries, who often worked and plotted subversive actions from abroad. It created an antenna in Paris run by Piotr Kovsky to monitor their activities. The agency used many methods to achieve its goals, including covert operations, undercover agents, and perlustration, the interception and reading of private correspondence. The Ochrana became notorious for its use of agents provocateurs who often succeeded in penetrating the activities of revolutionary groups including the Bolsheviks. Integrated counterintelligence agencies run directly by governments were also established. The British Secret Service Bureau was founded in 1909 as the first independent and interdepartmental agency fully in control over all government counterintelligence activities. Due to intense lobbying from William Melville and after he obtained German mobilization plans and proof of their financial support to the Boers, the government authorized the creation of a new intelligence section in the War Office, MO3, headed by Melville, in 1903. Working undercover from a flat in London, Melville ran both counterintelligence and foreign intelligence operations, capitalizing on the knowledge in foreign contacts he had accumulated during his years running Special Branch. Due to its success, the Government Committee on Intelligence, with support from Richard Haldane and Winston Churchill, established the Secret Service Bureau in 1909 as a joint initiative of the Admiralty, the War Office and the Foreign Office to control secret intelligence operations in the UK and overseas, particularly concentrating on the activities of the Imperial German government. Its first director was Captain Sir George Mansfield Smith Cumming alias C. The Secret Service Bureau was split into a foreign and counter-intelligence domestic service in 1910. The latter was headed by Sir Vernon Kell and was originally aimed at calming public fears of large-scale German espionage. As the service was not authorized with police powers, Kell liaised extensively with the Special Branch of Scotland Yard, and succeeded in disrupting the work of Indian revolutionaries collaborating with the Germans during the war, instead of a system whereby rival departments and military services would work on their own priorities with little to no consultation or cooperation with each other. The newly established Secret Intelligence Service was interdepartmental, and submitted its intelligence reports to all relevant government departments. For the first time, governments had access to a peacetime, centralized independent intelligence and counterintelligence bureaucracy with indexed registries and defined procedures, as opposed to the more ad hoc methods used previously. Categories of counterintelligence. Collective counterintelligence. Gaining information about an opponent's intelligence collection capabilities that might be aimed at an entity. Defensive counterintelligence. Thwarting efforts by hostile intelligence services to penetrate the service. Offensive counterintelligence. Having identified an opponent's efforts against the system, trying to manipulate these attacks either by turning the opponent's agents into double agents or by feeding them false information they will report. Home. Counterintelligence, counter-terror, and government. Many governments organize counterintelligence agencies separate and distinct from their intelligence collection services for specialized purposes. In most countries the counterintelligence mission is spread over multiple organizations, though one usually predominates. There is usually a domestic counterintelligence service, usually part of a larger law enforcement organization, such as the Federal Bureau of Investigation in the United States. The United Kingdom has the Separate Security Service, also known as MI5, which does not have direct police powers but works closely with law enforcement called Special Branch that can carry out arrests, do searches with a warrant, etc. The Russian Federation's major domestic security organization is the FSB, which principally came from the 2nd Chief Directorate and 3rd Chief Directorate of the USSR's KGB. Canada separates the functions of general defensive counterintelligence, security intelligence, law enforcement intelligence, and offensive counterintelligence. Military organizations have their own counterintelligence forces, capable of conducting protective operations both at home and when deployed abroad. Depending on the country, there can be various mixtures of civilian and military in foreign operations. For example, while offensive counterintelligence is a mission of the US CIA's National Clandestine Service, defensive counterintelligence is a mission of the U.S. Diplomatic Security Service, Department of State, who work on protective security for personnel and information processed abroad at U.S. embassies and consulates. The term counter-espionage is really specific to countering HUMINT, but since virtually all offensive counterintelligence involves exploiting human sources, the term offensive counterintelligence is used here to avoid some ambiguous phrasing. In the United States, there is a very careful line drawn between intelligence and law enforcement. In the United Kingdom, there is a distinction between the security service and the special branch of the Metropolitan Police. Other countries also deal with the proper organization of defenses against this, often with separate services with no common authority below the head of government. France, for example, builds its domestic counter-terror in a law enforcement framework. In France, a senior anti-terror magistrate is in charge of defense against terrorism. French magistrates have multiple functions that overlap US and UK functions of investigators, prosecutors, and judges. An anti-terror magistrate may call upon France's domestic intelligence service Direction de la Surveillance de Territoire, which may work with the Direction Générale de la Sécurité Extérieure, Foreign Intelligence Service. Spain gives its Interior Ministry, with military support, the leadership in domestic counterterrorism. For international threats, the National Intelligence Center has responsibility. CNI, which reports directly to the Prime Minister, is staffed principally by which is subordinated directly to the Prime Minister's office. After the March 11, 2004 Madrid train bombings, the national investigation found problems between the Interior Ministry and CNI, and, as a result, the National Anti-Terrorism Coordination Center was created. Spain's 3/11 Commission called for this center to do operational coordination as well as information collection and dissemination. The military has organic counterintelligence to meet specific military needs.